You are now listening to the Highly Evolved Podcast with your host, Safan. Transmission will commence momentarily.
Hello, how you guys doing? This is the Highly Evolved Podcast. I'm your host, Safan. Before we start, if you're SJW socialist, Marxist, communist, please exit the channel. This channel is for real American patriots only. But on that note, let's start the show. On this episode, I want to discuss about an article that I just found on Vox about presidential hopeful are promising workers a $15 minimum wage. And if you don't follow my channel, you know. If you follow my channel, you know how I feel about $15 minimum wage. But I'm just going to read some of the article. I'm not going to read the full article. I'll leave the article in the description below. You want to read the whole thing, but I'm just undabble some of my opinion on part of the article, right? But the article is saying that presidential hopeful are promising workers $15 minimum wage. Doubling the federal minimum wage is a popular idea these days, right? Popular idea, but is it feasible? Right? They want to... It's an idea, but is it a realistic idea? All right, but let's continue. Support the $15 minimum wage has gone mainstream with Democrats, so they try to buy your votes. They got try name all the free stuff they try to give you: free healthcare, free education, free money, UBI, now free colleges, free, $15. They basically try to give them money away. Basically, what they're doing is try to inflate the money market, try to put as much money in the economy as possible and ruin the economy, right? Devalue our dollars, right? But let's continue. During a forum with union workers over the weekend, 6 Democrat 2020 candidate hopeful publicly endorsed the idea of raising the federal minimum wage, pushing the issue to the forefront of presidential primary race. The current minimum wage has been stuck at $7.25 an hour since 2009. The workers are increasingly frustrated with their paycheck growing so little as the economy thriving. Quote, I stand strongly with you in your fight for 15, Senator Amy Klobuchar, Democratic of Minnesota, said during the candidate forum in Las Vegas, which was organized by the Service Employee International Union and the Center for American Progress Action Fund. Quote, we must get a $15 minimum wage, unquote. Klobuchar wasn't the only candidate in making the endorsement. At the other who's participating in the event did too. Senator Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, former Representative Beto O'Rourke, former House of Utah Development and Housing Development Secretary Julian Castro, a former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, all promising that if they are elected President of the United States 2020, workers in every state will earn no less than $15 minimum wage. Right? Hickenlooper went even further than the rest. Quote, where living costs are higher in New York, Los Angeles, maybe Las Vegas will go above $15. So he's pushing more than that. These enthusiastic endorsements from Hickenlooper, Klobuchar, who have positioned themselves as centrists in the field of progressive candidates, shows how far elected Democrats have moved on the issue that has divided lawmakers and more than a decade. 6 states and the District of Columbia recently hiked the minimum wage in 2015, and Democrats in Congress are considering a bill that would do the same, with so many presidential contenders on the board too. The chances of doubling the federal minimum wage are better than ever because due to Democratic and due to their brainwashing of the youth, of the people, of the community, their brainwashing that is a good thing. Raising the minimum wage is a popular policy according to naive people, according to dumb people who can't think. He don't have no prior knowledge of how economy works, right? It makes sense that presidential candidates are embracing $15 wage. American voters and lawmakers are increasing minimum wage pay. Poll after poll shows widespread support of raising the federal minimum wage to pay rate, even among Republicans voters, and the majority of voters want at least $15 minimum wage. This is why this is when they say $15 minimum wage. Where did they get that number? Have you ever asked yourself that? Like, why did they stop at 15? Why not 20? Why not 50? Why not $100 minimum wage, huh? Why not that? Why do they stop at 15? You ever ask yourself that? Like, where does random number 15 come from? Right? Is a random number? Wouldn't $20 an hour be more livable these days? Huh? Why 15? Why 15? Answer that question for me, right? Let's continue with the article. All right. Fast food workers across the country have done the most to make this happen within the past 5 years, and part of the Fight for 15 movement, they are transforming into a improbable proposal into popular policy, one that addressed in part the slow wages growth of American workers experience. All right, these people who work at fast food, right? They don't understand that modern technology are coming up, and if you're gonna push for $15, right? These companies, these fast food workers, gonna find other sources. For example, McDonald's are already replacing cashier with kiosks. Right, that's where your $15 go to, a kiosk. Right, it's more lucrative to have a kiosk than it is to have an employee that could call out sick, that's have a lot of liability, and you gotta pay a liability insurance. Right, it's more lucrative just to have invest their money on a kiosk for business owner. Right, that's if you want to push for $15. All right, but let's continue. Fast food workers urged state lawmakers in California to pass a bill in 2016. They will make California the first state to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Then came to Massachusetts, New York City, Illinois, New Jersey. In March, Maryland became the sixth state that raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour, right? And okay, they already raised their $15 an hour. And look, there's already some evidence that's showing that the adverse effect of $15 an hour. The hours is getting reduced. The work staff are shortened, right? They had to release a lot of people, right? Restaurant had to raise their prices. Not just restaurants, stores had to raise the prices to keep up with the wages, right? And they don't understand that. When you increase something, other things will be increased as well, right? When you implement taxes, other things will increase. When something is increased, it have a domino effect. Another thing will increase. That's what the people don't understand. When you put more money into the system, price will go up. Right, it's a domino effect. When there's more money in the market, price will go up, and they don't understand that. Sure, look, they say they have $15 minimum wage, right? People are getting paid more, but what happens when they get paid more? Stores will have to compensate somehow, right? They will raise the prices of every item, right? Whether it's your computer, milk, bread, whatever, whatnot, right? They have to offset the cost somehow, right? So price will go up. Sure, you're making $15 minimum wage, but price will go up. So you'll be in the same situations. All right, you're still struggling. The problem is get as much money out of the market as possible. Limit the amount of printing money. When you limit the amount of printing money, right, you make the money less. You make the money more scarce. When the money is more scarce, that means the value of money go a longer way. Your dollars stretch more if money is more scarce in the system. When the money is more available, right, that means your money goes a shorter way. It costs more when there's more money in the system. That's what people don't understand. When it comes to like tuition, right? The reason why tuition is high now because you're putting more money you're pumping more money into it, all right? You're putting more money into it. That's why tuition is getting higher, and that's what people don't understand. All right, but I digress on tuition. That's another story. But I'm focused on minimum wage, right? When you put more money in the hands of people, sure, it helps the economy. But yet again, it can help for so much, all right? When you put more money in the system, when people have more money in the system, I mean there's more money in the market, in the flow, when there's more money in the market, price will go up. I can't stress this enough. But let's continue on the article, right? All right. The bill, which has more than 200, let me read that again. The bill, which has more than 200 co-sponsors of Democrat, would also phases out lower minimum wage for tips workers such as restaurant servers, which has been 2013 hours an hour since 1996. Look, okay, even this article is stating that if you raise the minimum wage, there wouldn't be no tip, right? But they don't know the fact that if it wasn't for tip, right, most server make the living off of tip. If anything, most server will make more money from making tip than they would making living off minimum wage, $15, right? More server will make more money off a tip than they would off a minimum wage. Right? There are some server out there who don't want to raise the minimum wage because they know they can make more money from tips. All right? When you don't incentivize people to tip, right? When you don't incentivize them to tip, the workers will be less productive and the quality will depreciate. Right? And that's bad on the consumers. It's like the government. They got no competition. The people in the DMV don't care about people. And the type of service sucks. That's the same thing what was going to happen when people don't work for the tips. All right? The service is going to suck. When the service sucks, people don't come to the place no more. Hence, the restaurant is not making enough money that they should. And the consequences of that, they let you go. They reduce staff. Right? The next thing you know, the business closed. It's a chain reaction. It's a chain reaction. It's like a domino effect, right? Business group, meanwhile, are not happy about the fight for 15. Of course, right? Neither of their Republican allies in Congress, who have long pushes back against any effort to raise the federal minimum wage, claiming that it would destroy small businesses and trigger massive job layoffs. Of course it would, right? It's not business friendly. Minimum wage is not business friendly. All right? When you have a mandate that said you have to pay people a certain amount of money, that means no business will not created. That means there will be fewer jobs, right? Fewer jobs to go around. If anything, we need jobs. Right? This minimum wage is not business friendly. All right? And what I want to stress to people out there: create your own business. Don't try to work for these jobs. These jobs right now, these minimum wage jobs, they're for people who just get into the workforce, like teenagers. All right? They're supposed to get the minimum wage job. You're a full-grown adult. You're not supposed to be doing this job. All right? You're a full-grown adult. You're supposed to have better ambition. If you're an adult, you best off to create your own business. All right? These minimum jobs are for new people who's just newly got entered into the workforce. College student, all right? Teenagers, that's what they're for. They're not for like retired. These minimum jobs are not they're not supposed to be for living wages. All right, but let me continue. Fewer Democrats are torn how much to raise the minimum wage. Representative Terry Sewell, Democrat of Alabama, I think, introduced an alternative bill in April which would create a different minimum wage level depending on the regions. Only business in the most expensive areas would have to pay workers at least $15 minimum wage by 2024. So far, only 11 other House Democrats support a bill and no Republican are interested. Yeah, I expect no Republican are interested, but this probably alleviate the pain a little bit, right? Because even this, I'm not giving her any credit, but she understand that other area in the United States have different living costs. You can't compare this living standard of California to the living standard of Mississippi. They have different economies. So if you just bump up the minimum wage to $15, you're destroying the people of Mississippi, right? Because their living standard, their cost of living are way lower. That means they can't. That means if they jack up the price in Mississippi, all the people in Mississippi can't afford anything, right? Sure, they got $15 minimum wage, but you can't compare two economies and say it's the same thing. It's different economies, right? It's not going to work out. You're going to close more. You're going to close more businesses in places like rural area than for you are to close business in places in California. So the small marketplaces, they're gonna be devastated by this big time. They're gonna be the most devastated, if anything. All right, but contrary to other raises in minimum wage, is about more than just politics. There are also plenty of debate about economic impact, such as changes, and what researchers say. Some of the study already came out. People are losing jobs. Hours being cut, right? Hours are being cut. Businesses are already closing due to this law, $15 minimum wage, right? The research is out there. You have to go look for it. I mean, some of them might be suppressed, but it's out there. There are a few topics U.S. economy have researched more than the impact of raising the minimum wage. The findings have varied over the 30 years, but there are two things most mainstream economists now agree. First, that raising the minimum wage increased the average income of low-wage workers, lifting many out of poverty, depending on how the rate is. Second, it will raise minimum wage worker likely to cause some job loss. Look. If you get $15 minimum wage, you'll be pushing yourself out of poverty, right? Quote poverty, right? You're pushing because you're making more money, but yet again, you would still be in poverty because all the stuff that's out there will be more too expensive for you to afford. Prices will go up, and you will still be in poverty. So what's the point of raising the minimum wage if you still be poor? If you still can't afford the basic necessity? It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, yeah, you get more money in your pocket, but what does it matter if you have more money in your pocket when things are more expensive than ever before? Put that logic, right? If you have more money in your pocket and things are getting more expensive, how is that counterproductive? It doesn't. It's more counterproductive when you have more money in your pocket and things get more cheap. That's beneficial, right? You're just in the same circle. Like, you get more money in your pocket, but things will be more expensive. So what's the point? It makes no sense. All right. Their finding has varied over 30 years, but there are two things most mainstream economists now agree on. First, I already read that part. The remaining disagreement resolve around how extreme the job cut would be. To some researchers suggest that hundreds of thousands of American workers could lose their job. Yeah, you think? With the modest increase of minimum wage. Of course they will lose their jobs. Company got to make a profit somehow, right? They can't make a profit. They have to spend this much money on these people. Amazon already been proven that they give their staff $15 minimum wage, but they have to deny them stock options and vacation days and all this stuff, right? Amazon's already doing that because they have to offset the costs somehow. And for you to be aware, Amazon don't make that much of a profit, right? All their money, every revenue they have, they invest back into the company. This is why they're so big. They don't. The profit margins are really low. People don't understand that Amazon profit margins are very low. Whatever money they make, they pay into the employee and they put it back into the business. And the profit is not that much, right? Except for Jeff Bezos. But I digress on that. All right. During the housing hearing in February, Douglas Holtz-Eakins, an economist at the Conservative American Action Forum, pointed in 2014 studies from the Congressional Budget Office, which estimated that $10.10 federal wages floor could lead to about 50,000 lost jobs, because the higher labor costs would lead to some employers to scale back their staff. Of course, I mentioned about this. All right. Other research concluded that the increasing the minimum wage job have an insignificant impact on employment or none at all. These people are so retarded. They don't know the basic economics. The way to elevate the difference conclusion is to analyze the research finding together. What scientists call the meta-analysis and the most recent one suggests the most likely to impact the employment is minimal. Yeah, right. People are already losing their job. People in Seattle, California, that New York are that implementing the $15. Their staff are getting cut. The hours is getting cut. It's already been happening. It's in full effect. That's what happened. And they're not learning from this actual case that's out there right now. Right? For example, 2016 study economist Michigan State University crunches data from 60 research studies in the minimum wage in the United States since 2001. They concluded that 10% increase of the minimum wage would likely reduce employment lower wage industry by 0.5 to 1 point. That's a big increasement. Look, basically it jumped by 7 points. And if you can keep implementing this and the way the economy going, right, growth will be harder to achieve, right? The GDP will be harder to achieve if we apply this this minimum wage. People are already losing their job. They already said it right here. 10% increase in minimum wage would likely to reduce employment and low wage, mainly employment. But anyway, going on, another meta-analyst comes to a new research paper by economists of University of Massachusetts, University College London, and the Economic Policy Institute. They studied data from 138 cities and states raising the minimum wage pay by 1970 to 1916, found that low-wage workers received a 7% pay bump for minimum wage laws into effect. But that was a little or no changes. Of course, it doesn't. And they say, of course, you can have a 7% pay bump because you increase the minimum wage. But what they're not telling you that what's the effect of that pay bump? Increased prices, fewer hours, right? Lots of jobs. They're not telling. Of course, they're getting a pay bump, right? But what's the consequence of it? In 2018, working papers soon to be published in American Economic Journal apply economics. Economist, there's some Indian guy named Aljarida Dubey shows the raise of the minimum wage significantly reduced the number of families living in poverty. For example, he concluded that $12 minimum wage in 2017 would have left 6.2 million people out of poverty, right? But business, for most of the part, really disliked the idea of raising minimum wage in the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and Restaurant Associate just a few of big industry group that have lobbied aggressively against past attempts to do so. They want to use this narrative that will get people out of poverty, right? What is their poverty line? What determines people living in poverty, right? What is a set price to conclude that you live in poverty and who doesn't live in poverty? How much you have to make in a year? $30,000 a year, $40,000 a year, $60,000 a year. I know people who's living like $20,000 a year and they're happy fine. They don't consider themselves poor. But what determines people as poor, right? How much money would you have to determine that you're poor? How much money do you have to make in a year to determine that you're poor? Right? It's not about how much money you have. It's how you manage your money. All right? If you manage your money well, you will never be poor. All right? If you're bad at managing money, you will always be broke all the time because you are bad at managing money. People who have money are very good at managing their money. People who are broke, who are poor, are really bad at managing their money. All right? That's the difference. All right? It's how you manage your money. It's not how much money you have. But even corporate America are less resistant to the idea than it was before. Thomas Donahue, president of U.S. Chambers of Commerce, recently toned down his usual criticism and effort to raise the minimum wage, saying that the chamber going to listen to new proposals. Last month, McDonald's said it would no longer hire lobbyists to oppose minimum wage increase in the state and federal level. And Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos said now support the $15 minimum wage, right? Because the reason why he supported $15 minimum wage because it's more beneficial for him because the employee will no longer have stock options and no vacation. He would pay less in benefits fees. Benefits are expensive, right? Workers' benefits, right? He would rather pay them the $15 minimum wage than pay them the benefits, right? But let's continue. Support of the mainstream now that the obvious question of who opposed 15 minimum wage. Not of all 20 plus 2020 presidential Democrats candidate participate in the Saturday forum, so we don't know everyone's position and just yet. Senator Bernie Sanders support $15 minimum wage. He sponsored a version of the Raising the Wage Act, but South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg hasn't taken a firm position on it, and neither the former Vice President Biden. So enough, they'll feel the pressure. Biden already announced that he supported $15 minimum wage. Right, he already announced that. But these Democrats, they're just pandering. That's what it is. Their solution is give free items. They're buying your votes. But how do you know whether the word are good enough? These Democrats are known to be liars, right? These politicians are known to be liars. Yeah, they could say one thing, but they could do another thing, right? They could say they'll give you all this, but will they deliver? Right? They could say they can implement this and that, but look at how hard it is for Trump to implement all his program. There will be a lot of blockage. Look how hard it is for Obama to be implementing all his program. There will be a lot of blockage. You can't just depend on their word for it. How are they going to initiate this? How are they going to cross party lines and get our supports? It's going to be hard to do this, right? So you just can't depend on their promises. Just can't depend on their words, because all these ideas is very radical. I mean, at least have some moderate ideas, right? But $15 minimum wage, I think is a terrible idea for business, not business friendly, and it's gonna increase inflation big time. Right? When you put more money in the system, price will go up, right? And no matter how much money you have, it does not determine whether you're out of the poverty line or not. What is determining the poverty? And $15, why is it $15? Why is it not $20? Why is it not $100? I would love to get paid $100 an hour. All right, $15 an hour seems nothing. All right, why just stop at 15? Why not more than that? Huh? Because they know it's very detrimental to the economy if they go above $15. So if you go above $15 is detrimental, why would you even increase it to 15 in the first place? Because this is gonna be detrimental to the economy. There's a reason why the minimum wage doesn't go up, because our economy isn't that good. 20 years ago it wasn't that good, right? It wasn't. So there's no need to increase the minimum wage as of right now. Our economy isn't as good as they project it to be right now, right? The house market, the price of the house just dipped down, right? That means people who's buying the house a few weeks ago, that mean they're paying more for what the value of the house is, all right? But I digress on the housing. That's a different issue. But Joe Biden come out, he's supporting this. All these socialists are supporting this. Thinking they know that the people are stupid. They don't know anything about economics. All right, they don't know about economics. That's why they're just pandering to these people. And yeah, and that's the end of the article, right? But it's not gonna solve anything. Raising $15 an hour. I mean, I'm a blue collar, and if anybody who would support $15 an hour, it would be the type of guy like me. But I'm not supporting it because I know the consequences of what's gonna happen. But that's all what I gotta say about this $15 minimum wage. Let me know you agree. You think we should raise the minimum wage? All right. You think it's a good thing? You think it's gonna have adverse effect? You think putting more money in the system is the solution? You think price will go up? Let me know you agree. Leave your comment below. Once again, I'm not sponsored. I'm not monetized. I'm demonetized. I mean, I'm not bounded by outside influences. That means I'm not scripted. I'm unrehearsed and unedited. I mean, whatever you see is what you get. I'm not hiding anything from you. I'm not saying any propaganda. So if you see any bloopers, misworded sentences, that's all me. And if you like what I do, please follow me on social media, Twitter and Get.ai. And most importantly, Google is trying to prevent me from uploading videos. So it's more important if you guys like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly, subscribe if you like what I do. I'm trying to get out my message. I'm doing this for free, so I'm not getting anything out of it. I just do it just to make people think. I want people to think. That's what I want to do. That's basically this channel. And I don't know, guys. Thank you for sticking with this long video. All right. I appreciate it if you made it through this far. And you guys have a good day. I'll check you guys in the next video. Peace.